Right now.
Right
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because it's time to write now.
Welcome, my friends, to the Right Now community. As we celebrate 400 days of live streaming. How crazy, bananas. So if you're just coming by, today it's going to be we're going to do a mix of everything. I asked myself, was I going to plan something for 400? And I didn't really plan too much craziness or too much special. I think what I really just want to do was just come hang out with you guys as we celebrate 400 days of our journey together. I will probably talk a little bit about what the path looking forward as we look towards 2025 looks for the rest of the year. I don't think I have any major announcements today, but we'll do that. I think to celebrate, I'm going to do a reading of Scarecrow, and it's a little bit for me. I'm being a little selfish on that part. That I got through this chapter. I need to make sure it sounds. I need to make sure it works because I'm trying a couple of new things. So we'll do that. We'll get in a writing sprint as well because we need to also get in our writing. So yeah, that's what we'll do. Super informal, nothing planned. But welcome to the community. I'm Kaufman, and as you know, I'm on a mission to solve the writing problems of the world by putting a dragon on it. So come join us because we're starting right now. All right, my friends, I am so stoked. Courtney, you're 400. Congrats. Happy 400. I am thrilled. I didn't even know that I was going to get through the first 45 days, let alone 400 days. That is crazy. Hey, what's up, Brain? Welcome. Calvin, welcome to the stream. Bethany, Tiara, Jen, welcome. Good to see you on here, my friend. Welcome. And Miss Jody, Jean, Daniels, what's up? How is the streaming going? How is the writing vibe going for all of you today? Monday, oh man, what a crazy day. What a crazy times. I was I've been so busy with my other things, especially the weekend. I was all right, well, I don't know what I'll actually plan for today. I think I'm just going to marvel in awe. So I'll show you guys something which is really interesting. So when I look back at the past year, let's pull it up here. So obviously you guys know this is the YouTube channel you guys are on. We're almost at 700 too, which is actually kind of cool. I'm wow, we'll be at 1K before we know it. But when I look back at the videos, right? So I'm gonna go back to the lowest to live, and I want to show you guys something because I know a lot of you are also working on your own writing journey. You're writing your books. Maybe you've published one. Maybe you're gonna be publishing them, and you're gonna have to build up your author brand at some point. I think live streaming is a great way to go about doing it. As long as you're consistent and strategic, nothing you haven't heard before. But I want to show you guys something. So anytime, it took me a while to get to this consistency and then be able to build up the community as it is. But when I first started, and let's go back. So when you go on my channel on Right Now, you can see, right, we go latest and popular, but let's go to oldest. What do we see when we go to the oldest, right? So I just want to look at this. Now, just to clarify, I started streaming on YouTube specifically about middle of January. I believe the first 15 days or maybe 10 to 15 days, I streamed exclusively through Facebook, which I don't even know why I was doing that because I've done many previous years of doing YouTube stuff. So I don't know. Who knows? I think I was just trying to keep it casual. I'm if I do it on YouTube, it's going to become more work. But then once I started doing the streams every day, I'm okay, well, I was actually kind of enjoying it. So when you guys go look back, right, and look at these views, right? So I remember this was my announcement stream. That was the cool fire. And I tried out a lot of different thumbnails. Now, the average view count on these early ones, you can see we're anywhere between 10 to maybe 20 views. That was the average. And you can see I tried out just using that main thumbnail. I tried out different thumbnail strategies over time. And I want to say this was probably as we go through the first month, I started trying out different thumbnail strategies. And you just saw we saw many different variations, and the view counts on a lot of these were super low, guys. This was like the first like 1 to 2 months of streaming. I want to say that I think the first success I had was, of course, Story and Critique Show, right? 87 views, which at the time it was probably like 60, I'm sure. So I knew, and that told me, right, that of all the things that I'm doing on YouTube, of all the things that I've been trying to create, it was that what you guys wanted, what the community wanted, was you guys liked the live story readings and the feedback. And I know how much writers we've helped just by showing up on the stream. So I just want to show you guys that, because I know a lot of you are probably trying to build up your own brands eventually as well. That for me, it takes time. And like, you don't have to do a daily thing. Like, don't do what I'm doing unless your lifestyle is able to fit that. Right? I went with a daily strategy because I'm able to do that full time with my lifestyle. For someone who has like a 9 to 5 job, that probably isn't realistic unless they had the energy to be able to do it. I would not have been able to have done this specific type of daily strategy years ago when I had different responsibilities. So I think that's something also important to keep in mind. You can still do it, and you can obviously build up an author tube with different strategies in different ways. The daily strategy is only one. It's only one strategy. So I just wanted to show you guys that, because it really goes to show, right? I tried out different things. You see, I tried out different styles. You can see I rocked the beanie, I think, for the first like 3 months. I like definitely did the beanie vibe. I had tried different variations, and really success is just trying new things, being consistent, and figuring out why people want to show up. And I realized like I knew writing, and then I think I've just evolved over time my understanding. Right? I remember this editing video. Wow. Brings me back. So as you can see, right, bunch of different styles of videos as it evolves over time. This is what, 10 months ago, so this was around March. I want to say that the community didn't really start picking up until, I want to say it was like the spring of last year. You start seeing the average view count going up into like 20 to 60 range. And I want to say it's during the summer is when it starts picking up really fully. Yeah, I launched the podcast. I remember when we launched the podcast, that was interesting. So, and then I did a series of workshops to see, and some of the workshops were successful. It was just a lot more prep on my part. So I was like, do I actually have time to prep a workshop like that? And I will be bringing the workshop series and the workshop format back to the stream, but I'm going to be doing it a little differently. And I'll be announcing more about what that workshop experience is going to look like in March when we get closer to the re-updated the additional tier for the YouTube channel members. So I'm going to be doing something both for the free side and then both for channel members as well. So, yeah, and you just see how it's evolved over time, right? I just thought that was interesting. I'm always like so fascinated. And this is like the sort of thing I do when I'm researching how to do something. I will go look on other YouTubers' channels, right? Or go look on other author tubers' channels, right? And then see, well, what are they doing, right? How often are they uploading? What types of views? What's their thumbnail? What are the titles? What does the content look like? And so on and so forth. So you see, there's so much research that goes into it. Now, of course, you could just start streaming any day, and you could just try new things, and people do that all the time. That's called a throw spaghetti at the wall method, and eventually you'll figure it out. But you'll be able to do a little bit more informed research, so that way you can maximize your time, because we don't like to waste time. And yeah, I really value. I think research is importante. Research is importante. So just wanted to say that. I thought that was really, really cool. That's kind of on my mind. Let's see. Jen, crazy that my first time watching your live stream is your 400th. Woo! And I was like, that's actually really exciting, Jen. I'm glad you found us. Let me do. Oh, and I also forgot to add as my little bonus and thank you for hitting the 400th stream. and for all of your guys' support, I created 2 more music playlists. So 2 more music playlists for when we start sprinting. So for my community members who've been here consistently for the past couple months, you guys know I kind of rotate between playlists. I'm really trying to get myself into a cadence of adding new playlists month by month. So yeah, so more music playlists, which is awesome. Hey, what's up, Gwenna? Welcome back, my friend. Welcome. Let's see, Jen. You're like, yeah, I'm trying to build my Substack. I'm at 6 weeks so far. Yeah, I've heard some decent things about Substack. I am personally not too familiar with it, but I know Substack is another community and newsletter building tool. Let's see, because I check out new things like that all the time. The new economic. Yeah, that's right. Substack is like Patreon for writers, if I recall correctly. But yeah, I know a lot of authors who use Substack. I myself haven't delved into it, but I have about 15 different author or writing based platforms kind of that I'm like thinking through. And then over time, I will add additional platforms as it makes sense for what I'm doing with my author brand. But Jen, I would love to hear how Substack has worked out for you so far. I hope you've been able to get some success. You said it sounds like you've been at it 6 weeks, and that's some great consistency right there. Brain, you're like, the community here seems really positive, and this is the best writing sprint channel I found. Definitely deserves more subs. Aw. Thanks so much, Brain. I really, really appreciate that. And we'll get there. You know what? We'll get there over time. Because of the type of community that I want to help evolve with all of you, I feel confident like we'll get those subscriber numbers. We'll get the higher rate. To me personally, the subscriber number is very like low priority. The reason that subscriber number is important is because it creates perceived status. It brings in potential sponsors, and it brings potential more money to the channel to be able to do more things. But in terms of like the content itself, like the subscriber number is like just a number. And even as the social media algorithms are changing and updating, more and more people are caring less about the number because more people would rather follow communities that they want to be involved in and see things that they like instead of seeing somebody with a huge follower subscriber count. That part of the TikTokification of social media, as Gary Vee always puts it. Let's see. ML, welcome. Glad to have you here, my friend. Really, really glad to have you here. Hope Monday's treating you well. I know we got some good writing sprints over the weekend. Ooh, Susan, like I started watching during NaNoWriMo. That's right. Back in November when we did Adventure Right Now. Yeah, that was fun. In November, for those of you who missed out, we did it was called our Adventure Right Now holiday event. And we basically wrote a story together as a community with, it was called The God's Favorite Cat Toy. Hermes the Cattail. It's basically a choose your own adventure story, which is really fun. I did it along with Chat Soul, and I think we got about 80% through the manuscript. So I'll be returning to that once I've gotten through Scarecrow. Let's see. And Calvin, for my music playlist, got to add some dwarven metal. I love that. Yeah, Patreon for writers is a good way of putting it. Mine is free though, for now, for the Substack. All right, guys. So that is awesome. So I think that was the first thing on my mind when I think about the YouTube channel itself. Now, what else was on my mind? Oh yeah, let's do the real quick. Let's do the stream schedule for the week. All right, here we go. Perfect. All right, my friend. So here's the stream schedule for the week. Very, very easy. We're keeping it focused on writing sprints because, like I said, I really need to get a lot of work done with Last Scarecrow this month, and I have my goal at 70,000 words. I hope all of you will join me in trying to achieve high word count goals this month. So we're doing a bunch of writing sprints this week. Wednesday, of course, our normal Wednesday writers group. For those of you who want to hop on the stream with us and chat with other writers, our Wednesday group last week was really good. We had a great turnout last week. We almost reached max capacity in the StreamYard studio, which is cool. And then Saturday, we return with the story and critique show. Everyone's favorite. So make sure that if you want to have get feedback on your story, if you want a live reading and feedback for our Saturday story and critique show stream, to definitely submit a story now. I believe there's already a decent number of submissions. Generally, what I will do is I try to prioritize first time anybody who submitted for the first time, so that way they can see what the experience is like, and then balancing that with all of our other submissions, so that way we can always be welcoming new members to the community while also valuing the writers who continually who submit more stories. So I definitely recommend submitting them. It's a great stream. Absolutely. Let's see, ML, you're like, I handwrote on my novella over the weekend. Last night, I started typing them into the Word doc, and I got 500 words typed into last night. I still have about 500 more words for my notes to add. That's some great work. ML, that's some awesome work. I'm like so glad to hear that you're making some good progress as well. That's some really awesome work, my friend. Okay. So I'm like so happy for you. And it sounds like we're both going to have to keep pushing this month. So that way we really keep like getting to that next level. So with that, okay, what's next? So like I said, I don't have any real announcements today. I'm like, do I have? Okay, I do have a big announcement this week, but I can't actually talk about it yet until Wednesday. I won't be able to talk about it until Wednesday. So I'll make the announcement during the writers group. So make sure you come back on Wednesday and I'll have an announcement for the community, which is actually super cool. Like it's like, I'm so excited about this, this opportunity, but I can't share it until Wednesday. So yeah, maybe later on Tuesday, we'll see. So yeah, definitely make sure to check back because that's my main announcement. I don't have too many Discord updates. So I'm not really touching on Discord today. We'll probably do a little bit more updates next week. And yeah, our other spring events are our book club, which I'm so excited to talk about. And I guess I should probably bring up our holiday event calendar, which that seems like a good thing to touch on. Let me go pull up the holiday events. If I was a holiday event, where would I be? Okie dokie. Perfect. So for those of you guys who haven't seen this, this is our holiday event calendar for this year. And I was like, okay, so now is actually probably a perfect time for me to chat about what 2025 looks like. So for those of you who've been with us, and I just went over the YouTube channel of last year, the goal of the 2024 Right Now YouTube channel was really for me to get into doing this daily streams and start the foundation for building up a writing community, which is accessible for all styles and for all styles of writers. It caters a little bit more to the beginner intermediate writer on average. But I've learned that the beginner intermediate writer that could change. Some have published books, some don't. But I think the range of genres and the range of skill levels is what really makes our community stand out. And then my goal is to continue to make this a community that values positive motivation, because the writing process is long. It takes work, takes time, takes consistency, takes effort. I myself am that weirdo who loves every part of the process, which is why I show it every day on the streams. Now, as we look towards 2025, I know those of you are familiar with I'm calling this the holiday event calendar. So I know we've talked about this a couple of times. So we do have our community, our holiday events. Essentially, with the writing community, there's going to be two focuses on the 2025 calendar year. Okay, I would say three. Actually, yeah, I would lie and say three. So I would say the number one focus will be continuing to provide free streams, information, and resources to help you with the writing journey. That's never going to change. I'm never going to monetize the story and critique show because I believe in the value that it brings you. And I know that writing is an expensive process, especially when you have to start hiring cover design artists, when you have to start hiring editors, and you have to start going through all the publishing aspect of it, which is why I do believe in free resources. So that's why I will always work to create content, free stuff that helps you with that process that is not behind a paywall. In that effort, I will continue doing the daily writing streams where I'm going to do a little bit more focus on uploading videos instead of trying out new specialty weekend streams. So our weekend streams is like the Story and Critique Show and the Create Right Now podcast. I'm going to be trying out uploading more videos so that way you can watch it in addition to the live streams. The videos will probably be more informational style, a little bit more consistent with what you guys see with other author tubers on YouTube who post videos. So that is one, making sure that we keep the free resource. Of course, Discord is always another free resource for all the writers in the community to be able to connect with each other, which is wonderful. Now, the second goal is going to be investing into the YouTube channel membership category. So for those of you who are channel members, you guys know, right? If you've signed up to be a channel member so far, it's $5 for the first tier of channel membership. And if anybody wants to become a channel member, all you have to do is just click that join button down below the video. Essentially the channel membership, you'll get access to free copy of the Freaky Friday anthology if you haven't checked it out already. You'll get the emojis and you'll get the icon next to your name, as you guys can see in the chat. You'll get emojis, and you will also get access for the month of March, is the last month where you're going to get access to the critique group. The critique group where you will be able to bring your writing to our virtual meeting. You'll share it with the group, and then everyone gives feedback. This is the 4th month that I'm trying it as a trial period. Starting in March, the critique group is going to be added to the next highest tier. I'm feeling it's probably going to be the $10 tier to get access to the critique group, but then anyone doing the $5 tier, I'm going to essentially keep using that $5 tier to try new things. So I'm going to be replacing the critique group with an accountability group. So for those of you who are like, hey, you know what? I still want to get the most out of that $5 tier, but you're like, maybe I just don't have the money right now to be able to do the $10 one, then the $5 one, you'll still be able to get value out of it. So I'll be announcing more of that as well. I'm going to start investing into some more workshops and experiences for channel members as well, because I know that obviously the financial aspect and the help that it comes with YouTube makes such a huge difference, especially because like this is my main job and source of income. And YouTube is just one of those factors. So I think that's always really, really awesome, seeing all the support that comes in from the community. And it means so, so much to me. It really does. And then the third major focus of the channel for this year is going to be on our holiday event calendar. So where I'm really going to play into doing these major holiday writing events throughout the year, because I think these are like cool things for you to look forward to, whether they are fiction contests or these festival type conferences like the WriteNow-a-thon, or other types of major holiday writing events where basically more time, more energy, and then more people join it to put it together. Our next major holiday writing event, which I think is going to be more closely to what I'm calling maybe like a community event, is going to be our book club. So our book club is we will be launching the book club in, where are we at? So we'll be launching the book club in spring. Yeah, we'll be launching. Yeah, it's right around the corner. Where we're going to be launching the book club officially in March. So the book club is actually right around the corner. We're going to be launching the book club in March. I'll have more details to share with you in a couple weeks. So in the next couple weeks, and I'm putting it together with a really awesome group of authors. So like the book club is going to be one of our like first like community events. That's a collaborative community event. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a great way to be able to get a little bit of reading in while still helping elevate your writing experience. So it's not anything that's going to take away from being a writer. So I'm like really looking forward to that. And then, as you guys can see, we have the end of the spring, we'll launch the Faded Fantasy Fiction Contest, which for those of you who saw Freaky Friday back in Halloween, we had so much fun. And we're still gonna have to find our host. Back in our Halloween event, Jezebel came out of the Aether to help us. We'll have to see who we can summon to bring the Faded Fantasy Contest to life. During the summer, we'll be launching the Right Now Author Retreat, which more details to come later in spring. And then we have a couple of mystery events that I will announce end of summer, either once we've made some decisions. Obviously, we'll return with Freaky Friday if I can resummon at Jezebel from the Aether. And then we'll end the year on our trademark event, the Right Now-a-thon, because I had so much fun putting together, and I think it was such a crazy event. Such a crazy event. Oh, man. Let's see. I'm just seeing your guys' comments, Susan. You're like, I don't know what to write for my next project. I think the interesting thing, Susan, is there's so many possibilities. I'm curious if you have like a list of things that you want to write, and maybe you're like, okay, which one sounds like the right one? I'm always of the mindset when you're not sure what to write, pick something that inspires you or sounds fun, and then start there. Yeah, the accountability group sounds neat. Yeah, because I know writing's hard, and I'm trying to. And I know something that a lot of writers could use help with is consistency and accountability. So I'm going to be creating an accountability group for the first tier of the channel members. And then, of course, anybody who signs up for the $10 tier will get access to both, of course. But the accountability group is what we'll be trying out. And I'll have more details about the channel membership later on in February once we get through after we get through the February critique group. For the book club, I'm like, please don't make us read War and Peace. That's a doozy of a one, isn't it? Oh, man. So I am very happy with what we have for the rest of the holiday calendar year. We got quite a lot coming up and just got a lot planned. So, yeah. I'm super excited. I want to share all that with you. Now, what I'm actually going to be doing next, and I haven't done this too often. So this is actually going to be like, I'm not going to make this a thing because I do actually want I want to be able to save as much of like the core reading experience for the launch of The Last Scarecrow. Now, I know I write everything with The Last Scarecrow on screen, so it's like everyone reads it. But it will then go through a couple variations or a couple revisions, drafts, and editing before it actually gets to that published stage, which is what people will see when it launches. Fingers crossed, assuming I can hit my goal when it launches in the at the end of spring. So my goal is to be able to publish Scarecrow at the end of spring if all goes according to plan. So I'm going to be doing something totally different, and I'm going to do a reading from Scarecrow. Like I said, it's kind of because I just finished this chapter, and I need to make sure that the chapter actually makes sense because I'm trying out some really different things, and tonally, I need to hear it. So I'm going to read it. Yeah, feel free to kick back and relax if you want to hear this very dark, whimsical fantasy story. And yeah, you're welcome to tell me what you like, what you don't like. So I am essentially the chapter that I'm going to be doing is I guess, okay. So for anyone who's new, the book is called The Last Scarecrow. Right now, people have been describing it as a cross between The Wizard of Oz meets The Never-Ending Story, set in a post-apocalyptic landscape. Right now, the heroes, so the last Scarecrow and his companion, Mr. Crow, have recently just met a character, a tiny little creature that they named Pebble because she doesn't remember her name. And she has a beef. She has a beef with something at the gardens up the road. Scarecrow and Crow are going to the gardens because Scarecrow needs to get more straw and more stuffing to fill himself with, or he's going to fall apart. And then how's he going to defeat the demon or save the world? So that's where they're going to the gardens. They don't really know what to expect. Yeah, we're about 35% of the way. Yeah, I'd say we're about 35% of the way into the story. This is kind of at the beginning of Act 2, kind of like into Act 2. So it's very yeah. And then this is a second draft. I want to say I rewrote about 30% of the chapter and then revised 70%. So this is a second draft, and yeah, my goal and my intent is tonally, I want it to feel what I say is the right word. I want it to feel fantastical, whimsical, dark, and hauntingly eerie. Yeah, I'd say those are the tones that I'm going for. So we'll see what we got. I love that. You're like, does it have pixies? Oh man, you guys crack me up. All right, my friends. So I'm gonna pull this up. Let me know what you guys think. The chapter is called Last Call by the Garden. I might make some notes. I might make some revision. I might make like minor editing things as we go. But yeah. There's probably going to be some editing mistakes because once again, remember, second draft, editing's not the thing. Some of the words and styles probably going to sound decent enough, and then there's going to be some changes. So I'm really trying to, like, for myself, when I do a read aloud like this, I'm looking for tonally, does it make sense? Does it match the tone I want? B, do the characters feel like they're individual characters based off their dialogue, their action, and their interiority? And then C, do I feel like the plot is clear? And then D, do I feel like the foreshadowing elements that I've layered throughout the chapter, do I feel like that they're placed well enough so they're not blaring, but then they're not too hidden? So those are the things that come to mind when I do a read aloud like this. Okay. Chapter 14, Last Call by the Garden. Scarecrow marveled at the golden twilight, which hung over the surrounding grasslands like a timeless masterpiece. Every step they took should have brought the night 1 inch closer to reigning supreme, yet the sun maintained its steadfast position above the horizon. The moon, hanging back, was still hidden by cloud cover. A gentle breeze swept through the air, carrying a subtle melody that sounded like an enchanting song in the distance. The fields full of crops and vegetables soon became more numerous, to the point that they were walking solely on paths of meticulously well-maintained dirt. He stopped nearby a grouping of flowers, sprouting between stalks of vegetables. At the sound of his rumbling stomach, Scarecrow couldn't resist reaching out for a carrot. Bringing it to his mouth, he prepared to bite down. "Wouldn't do that if I were you, Strawbrain," Pebble cautioned. She now sat on his left shoulder, opposite the crow, who had fallen into a deep slumber. "I've been a scarecrow for as long as I can remember, and one thing I do know for certain is fresh vegetables when I see it." "Not the issue," she shrugged and shook her head. He looked at her questioningly, waiting for a response. Throwing her hands in the air, "I don't know. Food doesn't grow on trees in this world." "Because food grows from the earth." "Not what I meant." She stomped on his shoulder. "Dumb sayings. What I meant, food is scarce." Raising his voice and flinging his arm toward the bountiful crops of vegetables they had passed, he retorted, "Doesn't look scarce." She shrugged in response. Scarecrow rolled his eyes and took a bite out of the carrot. It trembled in his hands. The sweet, crisp taste was delightfully refreshing. Was this the best carrot he had ever eaten, or was he just that hungry? About to take another bite, a flash of movement out of the corner of his eye caused him to spin around. "Who's there?" The flowers and vegetables swayed slightly, with a passing gust of wind that carried melodies along its whispered silence. Glancing at Pebble, she shrugged. Scarecrow looked down at the carrot and sighed. He pocketed it for later. Once they got to these gardens, he'd eat more. His stomach could wait. The deteriorating straw frame of his could not. He returned to the last arrow in the dirt path and continued the trek. "If I don't get some straw or stuffing in me soon, I'm likely to fall apart, I think." The tiny creature snorted. "Good luck finding either of those around here. Might as well shove some dirt up that straw pipe and call it a day." Scarecrow stopped. There's no straw or stuffing in the gardens? No, why would there be? I don't know, maybe from other scarecrows? I've traveled these lands far and wide. She turned toward him with fists on hips. And never have I seen a scarecrow before. Why would you think? Mr. Crow! Scarecrow blurted out with a shake of his shoulder. And save the younglings, Mr. Crow squawked as he shook his head awake. His head bobbed in all directions before landing on them. I thought you said there was straw or stuffing in the gardens. Food makes dirt and gardens grow, he cawed, eyes blinking rapidly as if it all made sense. Pebble slammed into her side with a bout of laughter. In between fits of hysteria, she blurted out, straw brain and bird brain? That checks. Scarecrow took a deep breath. Okay, let's just get to these gardens and I'll figure out what to do next. In a sudden change of demeanor, Pebble hopped to her feet with a warning. We're already in the gardens. Wait, we are? Then why didn't those clumsy feet of yours were the only bait I needed? Now, shush, servant. She paused, raising an ear to the air. Listen. Scarecrow scanned the fields for any sign of life. The vegetables, flowers, and vegetation cast long shadows, blanketed only by the golden twilight of the parting sun. A soft breeze swept through the air, carrying along a subtle melody with it. That's not just me. I heard that. Set us free, Mr. Crow murmured, gently rocking his head back and forth. Pebble squatted down, head low. They're here. A gust of wind. Hello? Scarecrow questioned. Welcome, weary travelers, greeted a whimsically petal-soft voice from below. Scarecrow backed up. Standing before them was a vibrant sunflower. Little lilting petals the colors of honey, morning dew, and twilight. The elongated petals formed eyes, golden disc-like pupils within giving a sense of regal beauty. It had a stem that twisted into two hands and legs, but the overflowing nature suggested this was mutable. Hello, Miss Flower. May I say your radiance is stunning, Scarecrow said breathlessly, already in awe of her form. I am the golden sunflower. Scarecrow, no less, no more. She spoke, her words flowing like melodies off a forgotten page from within the disc between her petals. Crows love flowers, Mr. Crow chirped in. With legs extending, the golden sunflower rose to Crow's height. The Sauropsids are ever friends of my kind, gentle wanderer. Turning to Pebble, who is now holding onto the pebble-sized rock. Turning to Pebble, who is now holding onto the pebble-sized rock again. You are not welcome back, Pixie. With a fierce shake of her head, Pebble shouted, How about a taste of this? She jumps off Scarecrow's shoulder, flinging the rock at the golden sunflower as Pebble plummeted to the ground. The flower's vine-like stem curved around the passing rock and caught Pebble before smashing against the ground. Turning to Crow, Scarecrow whispers, She's a pixie? What's a pixie? Mr. Crow shrugs in response. Screaming from within the golden sunflower's grasp, Pebble cries, Slaves! Attack! Rip that sunflower to shreds! Scarecrow leans over. I thought we were servants. Whatever! Kill! 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 The outburst ends heedlessly as the golden sunflower, the outburst ended heedlessly as the golden sunflower tossed the pixie into a nearby flower bed, which springs to life in a whirlwind of grace and elegance. A vibrant purple lilac and sunlight yellow daisy rise up to catch her. Scarecrow looked around. At that moment, with the dipping of the sun past the horizon, all the flower beds in the fields nearby and afar sprang to life in a wild array of wildflowers. Daisies, roses, chrysanthemums, and a lone purple-black cosmos. With the passing of the clouds, the moon cast a bright light that showered the fields in an array of celestial radiance. Scarecrow stepped towards the flower bed with hands raised. I am so sorry for her behavior. We've come for... Put me down! You want to be flower, ingrates! Pebbles screamed as she was tossed to a lilac. Please, let her go, Scarecrow begged. Dumb slave, I said attack, shoot, fire, punch. You're like twice there. Her words grew muffled as a leaf covered her mouth. With a smile of pure delight, the golden sunflower continued. Alas, our God tolerates no aggression. Eyeing the nearby flowers wearily, Scarecrow bent down, and with arms spread out, he asked, What did she do? Muffled cries rose from the pixie as she wriggled in vain against 3 flowers who had risen up to hold her midair. Mr. Crow watched from atop Scarecrow's shoulder with an amused expression. Scarecrow realized that Pebble appeared to be known here, but not in any way that inspired confidence. Judging from her demeanor and their brief time together, he was not surprised. She challenged our God, the golden sunflower hummed. She... What? The golden sunflower extended a leafy vine, collecting the pixie in one swoop and raising her to Scarecrow's eye level. The little pixie showed up one evening. Praise the moon, she said as an aside. In unison, the flowers chanted, Praise the moon. She dangled Pebble upside down from one leg, like the clock of a pendulum. Cloak hanging upside down and wisps of purple hair everywhere, the pixie swung her fists endlessly at the pixie swung her fists at the flower as if she only had to get in one hit. Continuing with harmonied elegance, the golden sunflower whispered, searching for a brother who, alas, is no longer with us. Pebble paused mid-swing, realization dawning on her face. My brother. Scarecrow looked back and forth between the helpless little pixie and the crow, who hummed to himself a familiar melody. How about I'll take her and we'll be on our way? A flower bed of lilacs, daisies, and petunias hissed. Shaking out of her reverie, Pebble spat. Yeah, that's right. I'm here for my brother. Give him back, you demons! A collective wave of gasps spread throughout the flowers. She called us, are we? She used the D word, Mommy, a tiny little rose cried as they remerged with the flower bed. Call the pixie, shouted a lilac. With a raised hand, the golden sunflower spoke. The gardens welcome all. A melodic hum rose up from the depths of her discs as if a trance was coming on. And all shall welcome the gardens. Her vines lifted her high off the ground. Scarecrow, hurry, stomp her, kick her, now, before! Pebble's words were drowned out as the golden sunflower raised her discs to the moonlit sky, petals gleaming beneath the vibrant stars above. Her vine-like arms spread to either side as she swayed like a metronome and sang. For all the flowers in the dark, as one the flowers swayed in harmony. For all the creatures near the mark, for all the beasts who feel the spark. The vegetables in every field, near and far, spring to life. Tomatoes, cornstalks, cabbages, and carrots rolled around as vine-like legs emerged. As vine-like limbs emerged. Moon shall set us free, ever the growth in the forest's heart. A collective hum rang out from every corner of the gardens. The splash and the breath ever wore apart. Fires the sparks in the burn's black heart. Scarecrow found himself humming along with the melody he had somehow always known in his heart, bringing peace, ease, and moon will set us free. Let us gather beneath the decree. The lands and the last will be when the moon sets you free. Her molten honeydew eyes washed over him, and all his burdens washed away with the passing rain. He felt free. He felt absolved, like the weight of the world was but a passing raindrop against the vicissitudes of his soul. He felt his heart's resolution because the moon set him free. Strong, wet earth felt great beneath his hands. The more he dug, the more progress was made. Specks of soil, rock, and grubs flew past him in a flurry of effort. A pest prickled his nose and he swatted it away. Making sure. Specks, I have to fix that. Specks of soil, rock, and grubs flew past him in a flurry of effort. He found. No, actually, that's fine. We'll go like this. Specks of soil, rock, and grubs flew past him in a flurry of effort. A pest pricked his nose, and he swatted it away. On his hands and knees, a half-dug hole beneath him grew wider and deeper by the hour. It had to be perfectly cylindrical. His fingers felt strengthened with each handful of soil that he clawed out. If he could make it. A pest tickled his nose, but it didn't bother him. He glanced up at the moon, studying its perfectly magnanimous texture, design, and radiance. Looking back at his hole, the size was about right, but if he leaned in with one fist, he could still reach the bottom. Not deep enough. Never. Ouch! The tiny, painful sensation upon the tip of his nose caused him to fall back and yelp. He landed on his bottom, wincing more from the shock of something sharp. Scarecrow shook his head and looked around. Before him was a half-dug hole. Did he dig that? Nearby, Mr. Crow was halfway into his own hole, pecking furiously while also eating chunks of dirt and humming a familiar melody. Why did that sound familiar? Maybe he should hum it too. Moon shall set us free. He shrugged and returned to his hole. There was only one way to master the moon's design. The soft, subtle melody in his heart soothed and eased all of the pain away. Only the confines of his perfect hole mattered. In no time at all, he was already waist high into it. Was this the same hole? He shrugged. No longer did he have to run if a painful sensation on his nose alerted him to a pest that wasn't a pest. Pebble? He mumbled. The pixie was biting his nose? She let go, spitting out a mouthful of straw. You, stupid, simple-minded dummy! Is that really the plan? Become a mindless vegetable for the rest of your life? Scolded the pixie with arms crossed. She then pointed a tiny finger at him. Leave me be, pixie. Scarecrow mumbled. I'm looking around. I'm confused. I've known you for all of 3 days. Why am I not surprised? The pixie muttered. Didn't we just meet? Scarecrow muttered. You've been digging holes for 3 days, Pebble cried, arms raised high in frustration. He shrugged, feeling an urge to please the moon and return to his hole. The pest jumped up the bridge of his nose and approached his right eye. Why did the pest have purple? She punched him in the eye. The last Scarecrow yelped and fell onto his back. Begone, pixie, before I call you. He rubbed his eye in pain, realizing that the words coming out of his mouth sounded foreign. Those phrases felt very much unlike him. With luminescent radiance, the benevolent moon shined down upon him, gracing Scarecrow with his light. He was insignificant beneath such a divine presence. A breeze swept through the air, carrying a subtle melody along its winds. For all the flowers in the dark. He sat up again, trying so hard to concentrate. His head pounded like a persistent drum beat that wouldn't let up. He shook his head, trying to figure out what was going on. It was so difficult to concentrate, form thoughts. He last recalled eyes that glowed bright like molten honeydew, piercing his soul. Creatures near the mark, Mr. Crow caught out nearby. Rocks and soil flying past joined multiple dugout piles around them. In the fields around them, fruits and vegetables with limbs of vine carved out holes into the earth. Things were lifted in and out of the holes, but beneath the moon's radiance, those things were unimportant. Flowers of all shapes, dandelions, roses, and wildflowers patrolled from within flower beds, spreading out in all directions. Flashing through his mind, eyes that burned like molten golden honeydew. He blinked as the world washed away. Are you listening? The pixie, the pebble, shouted at him with another kick to his cheek. Shaking his head, Scarecrow muttered, Apologies. Yes, What happened? This garden happened. Her eyes widened, spotting something in the distance. The melody grew louder. Quick! Think of one thing in your mind! He felt sharp sensations to his cheek, but the melody, the moon, the gardens, that you love or hate, strong emotion, memory. Beneath the decree. What do you love, Scare? Of the last will be free. You, moon, sets you free. Love! A vague image of the boy in the red beanie came to mind. It was a warm, sunny day. The fields had been toiled. Or was it inside one of the creator's buildings? A home, metals, woods, and coziness lay beyond them. Metal beasts roared with life in the distance, while flashes of fiery colors boomed in the sky with meticulous precision and flair. The red beanie was in his outstretched twig-like hands, his hair golden brown, eyes, the boys The boy's hair, golden brown, eyes of sky blue, and an innocent smile to warm his heart. Was he the farmer's boy? Did the boy even have a name? Everything was so bright and sunny. No, night. No, it was night. Explosions of joy and wonder speckled. Explosions of joy and wonder smeared across the sky. I need a beanie? Thanks, Scare. A joke? His pale flesh was meticulously creator-like. The boy's pale flesh was meticulously creator-like. Was this his creator? Farmers. Workers. Farmers. No. Workers. No. Friends laughed in the distance. Why did Mother Nature cross the woods, too? What was the joke? And she was floored. Get it? Dumb Scarecrow. Get it? Dumb. They're embraced beneath the sun. They embraced beneath the sun's light. Ouch! His eye was in pain. Hey, dummy! Hey, dummy! Hey, dummy! Scarecrow felt blinded as he rubbed dirt out of his eyes. With clear vision, he sat up and shook his head, noting the 6 holes surrounding him. The moon's... Let's do that a little bit more, noting the 10 holes surrounding him. The moon's light cast long shadows across the earth, making the holes feel gigantic. 7 days! Pebble screamed from the ground between his legs. You've been here! You've been digging holes. You've been digging holes for 7 days. Didn't we arrive? Down! Holes! Look! Scarecrow bent over, peering down in the closest hole. His eyes widened in horror. Lying in a heap was what should have resembled a rabbit with white ears, fur, and a pink nose. But beneath the stomach, its legs were gone, replaced only by half a bundle of cauliflower. He trembled. The hole next to it, a fox, the tail sprouting the head of a carrot. Another hole, a tomato with pointy ears, eyes, and a snout remaining. His stomach rumbled. What was that? But the moon's presence calmed him down. A melody hung in the air, washing away his worries. Something crawled in his right ear, followed shortly with his left. He got to his knees, feeling something stick out of both ears. They felt like clumps of dirt, grass, roots, and other earthy materials all mashed together. The pixie jumped around frantically, waving her arms in the air, trying to catch his attention. She pointed at him and made a digging motion with her hands, followed by pointing beyond them toward a trio of wildflowers fast approaching, and covered her ears before pointing back at Scarecrow. Everything was foggy, but he understood well enough the dire situation they appeared to be in. He nodded and bent over the closest hole, scraping dirt out with his hands. In the forests. The melody was barely audible now, but his heart yearned to continue digging so he could please the moon. He forced himself to stare into the eyes of a squirrel. Its body nearly transformed into a head of lettuce. Those terrified eyes spoke volumes that Scarecrow took to heart. Without shifting his head, he looked up. The trio had passed them by. Mr. Crow was at least 10 holes away, eating chunks of dirt with his beak as he embarked on a new hole. The wad in his left ear came out. Good. Smarter than you look, Scarecrow, Pebble whispered into his ear, relief intermingled with every word. Maybe I'll surprise you, Pixie, Scarecrow whispered in return. Pixie? What's a pixie? Isn't that what they called you? Dumb plants, what did they know? Scarecrow looked around. The closest flower bed moved in unison as they left a nearby field. So you're not a pixie then? Doesn't matter. Let's go. My brother's not here. Time to leave this flower freak show. Scarecrow heard her rustling about on his shoulder. He glanced up at the moon, already feeling a pull, and returned to, I swear to the burn, if you trance out again, I'm leaving you behind. And don't mess up those earwads. Took me 2 days of hiding amongst this freak show just to make them. Scarecrow shook his head. He knew deep down that any longer in this place would result in the end of his journey. If he died here, everything the last robot passed on would die in vain. He'd never find the other scarecrows. His memories of the boy in the red beanie would cease. Sticking a hand in his pocket, he grasped the frayed fabric, using it to ground himself momentarily. He grasped the frayed fabric of the beanie, using it to ground himself. I'm good. But that music, he grabbed his head. It was pounding heavily. It's hard to concentrate. Fine, we'll make a run for it. What about Mr. Crow? He nodded toward his feathery companion, who rolled around a hole, packing it down possibly. Leave him, Scarecrow sighed. It would have been what the bird deserved for his previous torment of him. He he didn't quite trust his feathery companion. He shook his head. Yep, he shook his head. Scarecrow shook his head. Scarecrow shook his head. He's also lost. I made him a promise. I won't leave him behind, Scarecrow stated resolutely. But he tried to eat. What if that was your brother down there? Scarecrow pointed to the bottom of the closest hole. A half-changed mouse was nearly a bunch of grapes, which might have been comical if the situation wasn't so dire. He glanced to the side at her, and after a moment, she threw her arms in the air and shouted, "Fine, grab feathers!" Fine, grab Birdbrain. Rubbing her hands together, a mischievous smile lit up her face. Doesn't change my plan to the slightest. At my signal, grab him and run. What? The wad of earth slammed back into his ear. He glanced back at his shoulder, but Pebble was gone. Over his shoulder, a flower bed of vibrant lilacs approached, their multicolored pebbles only enhanced by the moon's glow. Well, time to prepare for the worst. He didn't know what the pixie had in mind. Even with the wads in his ears, the distant melody threatened to entrance him. It took all of his willpower to lay low in the earth, focusing his attention on the monstrous transformations taking place in the holes. No, the graves. A vibrant, fiery explosion lit up the night sky, casting all of its inhabitants in an immune. A vibrant, fiery explosion lit up the night sky, casting all of the gardens inhabitants in an immutable glow that temporarily canceled out the moon's light. The melody in the air ceased. All motion in the field near and far came to a halt. The fruits looked up in a daze while the vegetables shook themselves out, and the flowers rose out of their flower beds, looking around in confusion. Scarecrow watched the night sky in awe as the remnants of the explosion lit up the air, leaving bursts of smoke in its wake. Whatever a pixie was, that was quite something to watch. "What are you waiting for, Strawbrain? Run!" Pebble screamed from atop his shoulder. He jumped to his feet, chiding himself for the distraction, chiding himself for getting distracted, and bolted towards Mr. Crow. He swerved between large holes, ignoring whatever poor helpless creatures lay within. Jumping over a group of confused wheat and diving between a flower bed of daisies, he landed beside Mr. Crow, who glanced up at him from his position in the dirt with a look of wonder plastered across his face. His feathery companion waved with a flap of his wings as he began to say something, which Scarecrow could only guess was the melody. Picking up the crow with a swoop of his hand, he looked in all directions and ran to his left, hoping it was the right choice. He swerved around the garden's inhabitants, feeling like this might be their lucky break. Glancing behind him, the daze was washing off the flowers. The daze was washing off the flowers. Glancing behind him, the flowers were coming out of their daze. The flowers were coming out of their daze as they were returning to their flower beds to resume their song. To resume the song. Let's say the melody. Looking forward again, Scarecrow skidded to a halt as the golden sunflower stood, blocking his path, flanked on either side by a row of wildflowers. With those molten honeydew leafy eyes, she beckoned him with inaudible words. He suddenly found himself plucking the wads of dirt. From his ears and tossing them to the ground as their words became audible. And weary Scarecrow, restless Crow, let not the toils of this world eat away. Mr. Crow looked up at him questioningly. Moon shall us free? A nearby wildflower sang out, "Join us." A chorus of sunflowers chimed in with the same sentiment. Join us, for all the flowers in the... Screw that, Pebble cried. Time to fertilize this flower freak show. With petals raised high, the golden sunflower pronounced, "Fear leads to shriveled hearts. Confusion leads to shrinking minds. Forget about demons and nothingness." A shriek permeated the air, cutting her off completely. Flowers and vegetables alike pointed beyond the golden sunflower, where a field had caught a flame. How it had roared to life so quickly was beyond their understanding, as flowers and plants burned alike. Smoke rose up into the air as chaos ensued. In a panic, the inhabitants of the gardens scattered. Let's go. Panicked The inhabitants of the garden scattered. Flowers dove into flower beds to hide. Vegetables ran into holes to get away. Half-transformed creatures attempted to claw their way out of their holes unsuccessfully. Unanimal-like shrieks pierced the night sky. The stars and the moon above, now hidden beyond the passing clouds. Scarecrow watched in shock as the fires spread from one field to the next, taking on a life of their own. The orange, red, and yellow flames cascaded the night sky in a vibrant hue of death and destruction. It felt like they had taken on a life of their own. Fires inched towards them, burning everything in its path. "Suck on that burn, sunflower!" Pebble mocked as she stuck out her tongue and spit. "Scarecrow, run, now!" Scarecrow nodded as the golden sunflower remained motionless, watching him silently. Even as he sped around her, she watched him. A slow, creepy smile. A slow, haunting smile. Haunting smile spread across her face. The gardens burned like a sea, like an inferno, like a sea of inferno. The gardens burned like a roaring inferno around her. But the look on that petaled face was unlike anything he could remember. Her molten golden honeydew eyes reflected the flames of chaos around them, and she smiled with blind devotion, raising her vines into the air to either side. The chaos of the gardens grew farther behind them, but even as Scarecrow ran for all he was worth, he heard her melodic voice in the distance. "The moon will set us free." As they ran, Scarecrow glanced down at Mr. Crow, who continued mumbling a song under his breath, but remained contentedly within his grasp. Pebbles stood fixed upon his shoulder, arms folded, a delighted look etched upon her face. Shouting down to her, Scarecrow asked, "When we first met, you were rolling a rock. How was that rock supposed to help you back there?" "Beats me," Pebbles said with a shrug. "How were you not affected by the noise?" Pebble looked up at him and waved her hands around mockingly. "Magic!" She broke into a bout of laughter. "How did you do any of that?" "Because I'm a flippin' miracle, that's what. You're lucky you ran into she struggled to find the words. Scarecrow bent his head over. "It's Pebble the pixie, right?" She grinned. "Yeah, and don't you forget it, Scarecrow." He smiled as they crossed the final threshold of the garden, a trail of smoke wafting just behind them. The stars in the sky lit their way as they charged through the fields of grass. The faintest sounds of a melody emanated like a breeze in the winds of the night sky. Emanated like a breeze, like a soft, the faintest melody played along the winds like a distant memory, like a fading memory. "Will set us free." End chapter. All right. Wow. Oh my goodness. Woof, man. All right, that's all. End reading. Man. I was like, I think that's the first time I've probably read the longest excerpt of Scarecrow on the live stream before. Wow. Okay. So normally what I would do, so like I told you guys, there was a couple things that I look for when I'm doing a live reading. And I have to ask myself, I'm like, how did I feel about each of the things I was looking for? What did you guys think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was there anything that really stood out to you specifically that you're like, hey, it's kind of cool, or like, hey, something just didn't make sense? I would love your feedback. Drop a comment. As I kind of think about it, and like, I want to be overly critical of my own work. Tonally, I think I'm happy with where it's at overall. I think once it got to that kind of creepy factor, I'm asking myself, is there a way to make it feel even creepier? Because it's like animal transforming into a vegetable. I'm like, I don't want it to come across comical, and there's a chance that it could. So I need to kind of think through, how do I make them, I just have to think through, make sure that will create the intended effect. So there's that. Overall, though, I think the flow of it is great. It feels like it was a really good. I like how I plotted it out. I think it was a good. It was like happy. enchanting, happy-go-lucky adventure, because this is really the first adventure, or the first true, this is the first like real adventure with Scarecrow, Crow, and Pebble. So this is their first like real trial together. And I think it worked, because really the chapter really revolves around Pebble's character development. And I think I showed that, because I mean, at the beginning, she doesn't remember who she is. She's like forgetting about who she is. And then by the end, it's reestablished that she's like, all right, I'm Pebble the Pixie. I think I did like that. I feel like in a revision, I can probably play up some of those aspects to really emphasize the characters. Let's see, Emily Kaufman. I like Sunflower Song, but it needs more cowbell. Like, absolutely agreed. Could always use more cowbell, ML. I'm glad you like the song. I was like, that's my first like variation of the song, or actually not the first. That's probably like the third variation of the song. But I know, to me, having a single song in the book was very important, because it's going to do a lot thematically for the story, and it's going to be referenced throughout the series. So the song is very, very important. Let's see. Jen, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Mary, like, hi everyone. Very funny, ML. Good, interesting chapter, but some repetition of words. Yeah, I would completely agree with you. But I'm not too concerned with the word repetition, because those are things that will be like edited out through the edit and then the later revisions. So I'm not as concerned about repetition, because I know there was a good bit of that in a couple parts. So I would completely agree with that. Jen, you're like, pretty amazing that you share your writing like that. I loved seeing the editing process as you read. Yeah, I was like, I thought that was really cool, wasn't it? So I mean, that was once again, that was the first time that I've done such an extensive reading on the stream. But yeah, I feel like overall though, I'm pretty happy with how the chapters come out. That is, of course, the second draft of that chapter. And I think it's much stronger. I think it's much, much stronger than where it was at originally. And the character through lines are a little clearer. Yeah, so tonally it was good. What needs to be improved? I mean, definitely like a lot of the language needs to be tightened up a lot. So definitely a lot of language needs to be tightened up. I need to adjust some of the creepy part of the chapter to really play that up a little bit more. Did I like the dialogue? For the most part, I think I like where all the dialogue is placed. I think there's definitely some commentary on Pebble's part that I can definitely adjust, because I really want it to be unique, and really want it to feel like it's part of this world. I love the direction of the song. I think Mr. Crow is kind of just there, which works. And then I think I played up different flowers, probably a little bit more adjectives or descriptions for some of the flowers in some of the sentences to play up some of the secondary flowers there. But yeah. So definitely I feel like this chapter is just in a much better place than where it was at. I'm very happy with how it came out. Awesome. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Thank you all for joining me on that little reading. What's up, Penumbra? I saw you just hop into the stream. ML, you're like, I like the tone. The sunflower is creepy, and you should make her even creepier. It works for her character. Yeah, I think she is. She does have that creepy vibe. I was like, I feel like she can be. I feel like I probably can make her creepier. I think in the beginning, I'm trying to intentionally like. I tried to intentionally tone the creepiness down when she's first introduced, because I want the reader to think like, oh, okay, maybe this pixie is actually did something wrong that wronged them, right? Or you could think like, okay, well, maybe the sunflower maybe they're just strange, right? Talking flowers. So I wanted in the beginning, but I think I could. I think there's definitely a lot of moments to play up the creepiness of the golden sunflower. I completely agree with that. But she was a fun character. She's like a fun, like little supporting. She's a fun little supporting character. She is, and I really like visually. Like I knew exactly what I wanted her to look like, and I knew the vibe that I wanted to get. So I think it's just playing up her character. That's actually interesting, Mary. You know, I didn't actually consider flower meaning when choosing the flowers, but that's actually something really interesting to think about. That's I might consider that when I go back for the next review of the chapter. I might actually consider adjusting some of the flowers with their meanings. So that's really interesting to me. I didn't know. Good suggestion. Thank you. Yeah. Whew, man. I feel like in a whirlwind of just awesome. I'm just very happy with how much progress I've made so far. And yeah, I think with that was a really, really good note to have. And I think that was a good note to get through for today's stream. I feel like we were able to get through all of the points that I wanted to. I just wanted to reiterate and say once again, thank you all for joining me today for stream number 400, which is so crazy. So crazy. So crazy to me. Thank you. Yeah, so it's like so crazy that we hit 400. But thank you. Thank you all for joining along this journey. For those of you who copped in at the end, I suggest checking out the replay because I went over a couple of just kind of out announcements and went through the kind of what I'm looking at with the future of the channel as for the 2025 year. But yeah, I know, Mary, like crazy. 400 is so wow. I mean, like maybe add some scenes where Scarecrow is somewhat at himself, that he has flashes of Sunflower doing really evil things to the animals. Ooh, it's not a bad idea, ML. That's not a bad idea at all. Like, I think I could actually do that in between one of his like resurfaced memory, one of his like brief moments when it comes back to the present moment. I actually could totally add a moment like that. That's a good idea. So Brain, you're like, is it a young adult novel? I don't think so. And I was like, I don't think so. I mean, it's definitely it'd probably be for young adult. I mean, young adults could read it, but the genre of the Last Scarecrow is probably is dark fantasy action adventure. So, but I mean, once again, there's a lot of like light-hearted-ish elements to it. So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of lighthearted elements to it, but then there's a lot of the darker stuff, right? Like the theme or like the moments when you have like these the animals that are basically being transformed and changed into plants and vegetables essentially. It's like that's creepy. There's a lot of those things throughout the story, and the story has a very dark undertone, which I think is probably a little too mature for a YA novel. So great question though. Great question. Oh, thanks so much, Penumbra. Really, really appreciate it. I know. I feel in such awe even at hitting 400. And for those of you who are in the stream, if you're enjoying it or if you really value the Right Now community, make sure to follow and subscribe. Tap that follow and subscribe button. Help us get to the next milestone. We're almost at 700. We'll be at 1K before you know it. So tap those buttons because clearly we got all the things. And if you're already a subscriber, hit the share button. Help us bring a new writer to the community right now. Thank you all. Wanted to get this subscribe in. Like Penumbra, like the discordant, unsettling moment of reality overlapping with amnesiatic recall. Then the snap back to the present is a great scene. Yeah. I had so much fun. Like I really wanted that scene. I really wanted that transition to feel dynamic, and I wanted it to be clear for the reader, right? That it's like they're in the present where the sunflowers like start singing, and then suddenly he's like 3 days have passed and he's digging holes. And kind of that going back and forth with really it's Pixie, the pebble is really what's trying to re-cement him in the present. And I think I had a lot of fun doing that back and forth. And that's like, I haven't done that style throughout the novel. That was a very chapter specific element, but I think there's things like that which work, right? If a reader is going through a chapter, I want them to have a unique experience that leverages my writing style while still feeling like it's part of the world and it feels like it pulls them in. Brain, like, I think what I'm asking is the pacing feels good, but could perhaps benefit from some density. Great. That's a great suggestion, Brain. When you think of density, what does that mean to you? I would love to hear what your what density means. Yeah, I'm like, man, I'm like thinking through. Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of just like thinking through, and so I'm like, with having gone through that. I like, yeah, I'm definitely in awe. So like more details, more concrete description, more varied sentences, and bigger paragraphs. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the feedback, Brain. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. Those are some good things to think about, and I think can always help with any type of storytelling, right? Because the more variety that we get in description, action, dialogue, interiority, all the things really adds to the storytelling. So that's some awesome feedback, my friend. Really, really appreciate it. I think the challenge that I've run into, not the challenge, but the thing I'm dealing with is I'm trying to cut back on word count because the story in itself is so dense. And I keep adding more to it. So we're playing around with it. Yeah. So, but yeah, thanks all for sticking around today. I really appreciate y'all. And that is all that I got for you. But unfortunately, let's say I think the overall story is great bones. It will benefit from a strong edit. Completely agreed. I agree with that, actually. Completely agreed. I love when you say in your success and show how that isn't bad. Progress should always be celebrated. Aw, thanks, Corny. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate all of you guys. Definitely appreciate all y'all. Like, I think the story overall is great bones, will benefit from a strong edit. Completely agree. I believe all stories should go through editing, right? Our goal as the writer is to tell the best story we possibly can, to do the revisions, do the review, go through it, and then we hand it off to an editor who basically should go through it with a fine-tooth comb and pull it apart and help you understand all of the problems. So awesome. Thank you guys all for your feedback. I definitely enjoyed it, but unfortunately this brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.
Right now.
Right
Right now.
Right now.
now.
Right now.
Right now.
Because it's time to write now.